So imagine for a minute that you are a farmer. You live in Ohio or you live in one of these states that does a lot of farming. And you own a big piece of property, a big plot of farming land. Now, we all know that property values can go up and property values can go down. They can come in and out of favor. If you're the farmer and you own $1 million piece of land, do you care if it goes down to 800,000 or if it goes up to 1.2 million? No, you don't care. What do you care about? You care about how much money that you can earn from the produce that you're growing. If you live another 25 years, your produce continues to bring income in. It continues to bring in money so you can live the life to keep the lifestyle that you want to have. If you're concerned about the property value and you're checking it every 5 minutes, there's a problem there because that can't give you the lifestyle you want to have. The produce, selling it, taking it to the farm market, that's what you care about. And that's what has an inflation hedge built into it for no matter how long you live. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy because people don't know what people don't know. Today's topic is new opportunities in the new year, part two. And so with that, we're glad to be able to be back after our break. And we finished up talking about the last segment about longevity and how potentially people can live well into their 90s and even to 100 years old these days. And it's important to be able to, there's a lot of risks that go along with that. And that's one of the things that people don't want to do is run out of money. And that is why we bring to you financial strategies, because we're all about making sure that you are stress-free in retirement and that people can retire and stay retired, not running out of money.
Yeah. So, you're talking about longevity and you're talking about, so if somebody's, 65 years old and they want to retire, those 90-year-old ages are pretty easy to live to. And that's not even taking into calculation the new technologies that we have coming in that could even extend people's longevity even longer.
Right.
And so with that, if that's another, 25 years somebody has to live, it flips us all the way back to what we talked about in our first season or our first episode of this show, which is the taxation portion as well as the asset inflation or inflation, which the federal government and the Federal Reserve are trying to create. So in a 25-year period of time, what do we think taxes are going to do? When the world is borrowing money, yeah, they're going to go up. And so how do you protect yourself with that longevity against taxation? If you make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over that 25 year period, or millions of dollars, and it's all taxable, and taxes go up 50, 60 to 50 or 60%, which is not outrageous because it's already at that in California.
Right.
Did you do a good thing by making that much money if you can't keep it?
Well, it's not about how much you make, it's about what you get to keep, right, Daniel? And the aspect between lifestyle isn't as much about your investments and how much money you have as much as it's about income, money that you have coming in. Because if you have the income coming in, you're able to do the different things. That was the point behind your story, talking about the farmer in the Midwest there, having the money coming in to be able to do what they need to do in life. And it's key to be able to understand to make sure that the diversification is in your portfolio, in your retirement, to be able to make sure that you have what you need when you need it. We've talked about in this show the aspect, and we're always talking about the aspect between guaranteed retirement income, promised retirement income, and then hope. And there's a place for each one. but most people are basing their retirements only on the hope aspect, which hope is not a retirement plan. Promises and guarantees create a foundation of diversification for retirement plans. Today and last week, when we're talking about new year, new opportunities, we're talking about the things, the aspects of volatility, inflation, taxation, longevity, legacy planning, and we want to make sure that you and our listening audience are prepared for these things. And you're only going to be prepared if you have the right perspective and taking advantage of the opportunities that we have in this world. Daniel, I am so glad that we're able to offer our clients opportunities through the study that we're doing and the change in investment philosophy and how we're getting into some of these things, like we did a show on Bitcoin and some of these other aspects that are going to be able to help our clients be able to stay ahead of inflation, ahead of taxation as they move into retirement, to be in good shape, like what in your example of 20 years from now, 25 years from now, and how taxes are going to be higher. Well, our clients are being prepared for that right now. And that's a great thing. I want to remind you and our listening audience, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. We have a companion piece to go along with today's show called 7 Risks to Your Retirement. Would love to get you a copy of that. You can have that by calling 800-725-7616. And we're going to make that available to you. If you give us a couple of different ways of contacting you, that would be a great thing. And also want to offer you the opportunity that, for you and our listening audience, we're so concerned about this at this beginning of the new year. We want to offer you a free, no obligation, second opinion, to where we would be able to take a look at your retirement plan, take a look at your beneficiaries if you want to make sure that you're accumulating, preserving, and ultimately distributing your assets in the proper fashion. We'll kind of put it through an MRI, as we call it, to be able to give you our view of what we see in your portfolio, which is different than 95+% of professional financial people out there who are basing things only upon the accumulation Wall Street model. You can have this free second opinion by calling 800-725-7616 to be able to ask for that. Or if you want to talk to Daniel or myself off the air, we'd be glad to talk with you from that standpoint.
And as we wrap up this episode, it's important for people to realize how the world is changing. Okay. When countries are racing to create inflation, to print money, to borrow money, the IMF just basically encouraged central banks to print money, to give out money, to create stimulus. Everyone's trying to devalue their currencies together, so you don't see the devaluation, but you will see the devaluation. Retirees will see the devaluation as prices rise. And we have seen that when you look at the price of things like education, like cars, like homes, things like these. And when you look at the US stock market, you see that it's inflated, not because of earnings,
right.
But because there's too much money chasing too few things. And so it has pushed markets up. And, there's been 3 huge bubbles, which would be, the 1929 bubble, right. The Japan stock market bubble in the 80s, right. And the tech bubble. And we're knocking on the door of those type of levels as far as valuation. So the question is, a lot of people think that their stocks, their mutual funds, the things that their investment advisors have been pushing on them will protect their money from inflation. And so they're flocking to things like Apple and some of these big tech stocks to try to protect themselves. They see it as a play to protect themselves for inflation. But if the valuations are insane, the
Right.
question that people need to ask themselves is, will those things do what they're supposed to do to protect you from inflation? Or do you need to start evolving your portfolio the way the world is evolving? And look at other places, look at other markets. Maybe it's time to start looking in Asia and in emerging markets and things like that, where you can get companies that have good demographics in their country, that have better earning potential, and use that with much cheaper valuations as an inflation hedge. Look at industries that people don't want to touch. Like maybe it's mining. With when we have this new administration talking about the Green New Deal and solar and these kinds of things, can you take advantage of some of the raw materials that will be needed to build out these solar panels, that will be needed to build out batteries for electric cars? So look at things that can help you protect your purchasing power, and get paid to wait, like we talked about with the wave, right?
Right. Right.
You sit there, you want to get paid while you're sitting there waiting for the opportunity to come. And that's, again, we're always talking about income, building that, that produce on your land that's paying you to wait for these other opportunities to pop, and having a balanced portfolio where you're able to get paid to wait for the opportunities. And then when those opportunities explode, like I think they will in the next, let's call it decade here, because you got to be thinking ahead.
Right.
I think there's some great opportunities that people still are not looking at, and you need to evolve that portfolio the way the world is changing.
Exactly. Daniel, those are good words from the young sage there. I'm glad to be able to give those to you and our listening audience as we wrap up today's show. Today's show, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Our topic, New Year, New Opportunities, Part 2. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. We have the piece that goes along with the show called 7 Risks to Your Retirement that you can have by calling 800-725-7616. The book, 3 Blind Mice by Scotty McLean, that we're glad to give you to the next 5 callers at 800-725-7616. And we also have this free second opinion, no obligation, second opinion available for you to be able to do a diagnostic on your retirement plan to see how you're prepared for the evolving economy, the evolving world. Is your plan going to evolve with it, or is it going to evolve against it, which could mean you run out of money? Well, until next time, I wish you the best. Glad to be able to speak with you today. And if nothing else, we wish you a stress-free retirement.